Hey Raghunath, tell everyone about our Patreon community.
Sure, Kastuba. The Wisdom of the Sages Patreon community is an incredible online yoga resource. If you like the type of yoga wisdom and culture we share on the show, then our Patreon community is a great next step. This is a listener-supported podcast, and any level of sponsorship will unlock a wide range of live and archived classes, talks, and even workshops.
Raghunath teaches, I teach, and we have a host of other excellent teachers on topics ranging from yoga philosophy, asana classes, storytelling, Ayurveda, kirtan, cooking, meditation, and a lot more.
We even have an incredible online Bhakti 12-step recovery group.
So if you want to check it out, go to patreon.com/wisdom of the sages.
All right, let's get it on.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Live from Super Soul Farm, this is Wisdom of the Sages, a daily yoga podcast with your host, Raghunath, and co-host and senior educator of the Bhakti Center in New York, Kastuba Das. Welcome to the show, everybody. It's Christmas time in the city. Good morning, Kastuba.
Good morning, Raghunath. You
How are
seem
you?
like you got the Christmas spirit this morning.
I got the Christmas spirit, I do. And for everyone who's new to the show, welcome. Today's the day we post on Facebook. It's Q&A day, questions and answers day. You write in your question to Miss Mara, wisdomofthesages108@gmail.com. We put them in a list, and then we answer them. So if you're listening to this on Facebook, you can find this podcast wherever you get podcasts. It's a daily study of the Srimad Bhagavatam, yoga philosophy, to make crazy world seem
a little less crazy.
A little less crazy. Yeah. Good morning.
All right. How's Mara doing?
I'm well, thank you, Kastub.
We had a big date day yesterday. Went out.
There you go.
Tarun had a sleepover. We just went out today and we hung out with each other.
It was fun.
It was fun.
I got some announcements.
Okay, let's hear.
Was that too personal? Did I have to say that?
Too,
I have to say that.
well, you didn't.
Maybe that was too personal. Big date day.
No, it was
No, it's okay.
You didn't go too far. Raghunath doesn't. He doesn't know when he's going too far anymore.
I don't know anymore.
Okay.
That was too far. After the show, I find out because what were you thinking?
All right, we got Bhakti Recovery Group meetings today at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time and 7 p.m. I should also mention there's sometimes meetings that I don't announce because it falls in like a crazy time zone for Eastern Time. But if you live like exact opposite, like New Zealand, Australia, India, those places, you should check out the online meeting list for the times because it might work.
They should just say it anyway, you know?
Yeah,
it is crazy.
Yeah. Well, often I miss it because it'll be like, oh, there's a meeting at 2:30 a.m. Eastern time today. So
Oh,
that's part of it.
okay.
Your volumes sound like they're very different. I don't know if Raghu's may be high or yours may be low, Mara.
There we go. We're good.
Okay.
She just might have a louder voice than me.
No, it's the other way, Raghunath. The fact that you're coming through louder doesn't mean that her voice is louder. It means your voice is louder or your volume is set higher.
Did you hear they put a deity of... I'm going to blame this on you and your satanic friends.
I only
Remember,
had one
you had a
satanic friend.
Well, you did have a satanic friend.
I did.
Yeah,
I mean, he was
remember?
my friend before he went satanic.
He was like the head of the satanic church, right?
He was the head of the New York chapter of the Church of Satan,
Right.
to be precise.
Right. So they somehow put a big Satan deity in like the capital of Iowa or something. Have you heard this?
I don't think he had anything
They
to
put
do
a
with it.
giant deity in there right in time for Christmas, like this giant horned goat, like how you would picture like Slayer on a record cover. They made a deity and they said, well, you know, it's free speech and we're going to do it.
Yeah,
And
they
we're
can
like,
do that.
All right, there you go. You get a nativity scene, we get to put up a Satan thing.
Why are we going there, Raghunath?
I don't know. I just thought it was interesting because I
Okay.
just heard it, and I knew you knew the guy, and maybe he was
No,
behind
well,
it.
first of all, he passed away at least 5 years ago or something like that.
Oh, he
He's in
died.
hell now.
Where he wanted to be.
And,
When you say go to hell, it's like, oh, thank you.
and yeah, and I don't think he had anything to do with that.
Okay, he didn't. All right. People are still like carrying on the mission for him.
Well, he was just one of many people that get into that.
All right. So, ready for Q&A?
Yes, I'm ready.
Do you have any announcements? People are still
you
signing
know-
up for India.
Yeah,
Like
I
every
saw.
time I say like it's closed, people are like, "What about me?" So
saw-
let's we got to close this eventually.
Okay.
Can people just either sign up or say we're not going to sign up? But we have a few spaces left. If you want to do it,
Go for it.
do it ASAP, okay? Because we got to really let them know at the retreat center.
At least
And
reach out
also-
right now. Even if you have
also-
trouble like paying right now or something like that, just call up and let us know, or write in and let us know.
Yeah, and we had a two last minute cancellations for Kirtan Academy and the 300. So if you're interested in those, a space for each have just opened up. Contact me or Mara today at supersoultrainings@gmail.com.
I saw that Theo just signed up. He's a really great guy.
It's a
Mary's
great
looking
name.
at me like, "What? You haven't checked the email?"
I don't
Came
check
in.
them. Thank you.
No, Mara. And now little Karuna's worried about me and being into Lucifer and Satan.
Good. She should be. Your best
Corona?
friend was like a satanic priest.
Not when he was my friend. Long after I became a devotee, he got into that stuff.
Right. But
And I think it was just a
rubbed
cry
off
for
on you.
help, really. I think it was just
You know
a cry
what?
for help.
Yeah. And sorry, you see so many incongruencies with sometimes organized religion. It makes you want to do
Yeah.
the actual opposite. I don't even think it's not like the guy was evil, but they
No.
feel like I want to do the actual opposite of what
Of
these
all the
guys are
religion.
doing. So I'm going
Well,
to start.
again, I can tell you exactly what it was all about, Raghunath, if you want me to. But it's not that they believe that there's a person like Satan out there that they're worshiping. They're
No,
atheists.
then they're not real Satanists. Real Satanists.
No, well, that is what
real.
that's what the Church of Satan is. I'm telling you.
I'm just saying, who says? I guess
they
they're
do.
going to.
They have their official manifesto and all of that.
Okay, but like, can they just make it up? Is it comes from? I want to hear it from some authorized disciplic
Well, go look it
succession
up.
of demons.
Look up Church of
They
Satan.
can't just make
manifesto.
up their own manifesto
Of course they can. Why can't they?
because it's got to be authorized from like.
Well,
who are these
they're
demons?
the ones that are. Anyway, it's their church. They can do whatever they want with it.
All right, go on.
Well, I'm just saying that their idea is that the religion that's been kind of forced down their throats since they were children has created some scars, has created impressions in their mind that create feelings of guilt, and they're trying to rid themselves of that through doing ritual that's kind of like turning the whole thing upside down.
Like indulgence.
Yeah, indulgence within like almost like a Christian context, or upside down, anti-Christian antichrist context, I suppose.
Church of Satan. I'm from the Church of Santa. That's what Mukunda says. Thank you, Jujitsu. Okay, let's get into questions because I could go all day with Satan.
Okay.
And I'm not into him at all. We weren't even allowed to say his name in my household when I was growing up.
Yeah,
Couldn't
you
be a
can
devil
talk
for
about Satan.
Halloween. Couldn't talk about Satan. Both my parents would say the devil is real.
Mhm.
Don't call the devil or he'll come.
All right.
Hare Krishna.
Let's hear a question.
Here's question 1.
Yeah.
This is from Anonymous.
Okay.
I'm glad you're feeling well. I guess me and Kostuba were sick for like a week.
Yeah.
I really missed it. Was so adorable. We were both sick and we were both 9,000 miles away from each other, but we sort of like we just felt each
Connection.
other. We felt the connection. Let's both get sick together.
Reaching out across the globe.
Okay, I'm glad you're feeling better. I really missed Wisdom of the Sages family last week. I have a question. I've been rereading the Gita And in the
Good thing
purport
to do.
of
Read it
Bhagavad
and
Gita,
reread it.
Yep. In the purport of the Gita 1624, it talks about the 4 principal defects that are visible in the conditioned soul. So this is one of those Vedic, what do you call when you taxonomies,
Epistemology.
epistemologies, perhaps, where you they number things. Just like there's this 7 habits of highly effective people. There's always like the 4 defects, the 5 most potent items of bhakti, and there's always like
the 3
lists of
pramanas.
things. Anyway, yeah, the 3 pranams. What is it called? The 3
Pramana.
pramanas. So these are the 4 defects that
Of
you
a
get
conditioned soul.
when you get a human body. 1, imperfect senses. 2, propensity for cheating. 3, certainty of committing mistakes. 4, certainty of being illusioned. And the person asks, can you please clarify the difference between 1 and 4, imperfect senses and certainty of being illusioned? Thank you. Kostuba, go for
You want
this.
me to? Okay. So let me just give a little context for what these are, just so people understand it. The idea here is that within Vedanta, within the study, the philosophical approach to understanding the absolute truth. Who am I? Where does the world come from? Is there a source? Is there a person behind it? How does it all work? In approaching these questions, the school of Vedanta, which is one of the classic schools of Indian philosophy, and which is a school that we all practice in, the Bhakti lineage is a school of Vedanta, Bhakti Vedanta. So they have their own kind of epistemology. How do we understand what is true? What is our approach to gaining knowledge? And kind of what they're doing here is, they say there's 3 valid means to knowledge. One of them is called pratyaksha. That means direct sensual perception. I see it.
I see it. I see it right there.
Knowledge gained by the means of the senses. And then the second one is called anumana, which refers to inference, knowledge gained by means of inference. You think about it and figure it out and reason it out. And then the third one is called shabda, which means testimony, knowledge gained by testimony. And it's especially what's meant here by testimony is that there's the Vedic scriptures, right? These ancient Sanskrit texts. Within this tradition, it's believed that these aren't ordinary texts, but these are texts written by the great sage Vyasa, who was empowered directly by the Supreme Being, right, in order to channel eternal truth. And so the idea is that if we want to understand all that there is to understand about reality and about topics that are, it's saying that there's certain topics that are beyond our direct sensual perception, things that we can't see with our senses. There are things that are even beyond our ability to speculate about, to come to the truth through speculation. To understand certain things, we need to hear it from someone who's experienced it. You need to hear from someone who's been there. And so therefore the most important pramana when it comes to those type of topics in the school of Vedanta is shabda, or the testimony of these ancient texts. So we hear these 4 defects of the conditioned soul in that context, because it's like, well, okay, if you step into a university, let's say like a technical university like MIT or something like that, and you talk to the professors there, for them, pramana especially is empiric, direct perception. That's what they give value to, right? They say, well, we look through our microscopes and we look through our telescopes, and there's no proof of any being beyond this. There's no proof of anyone organizing this. There is no proof. And the sages of the Vedic tradition would say, well, that's because it's beyond the scope of your senses. The instruments that you're using do not extend to that. Even reasoning or speculation you will not be able to reach it. You need to hear it from someone who's been there. And you can put that to the test. You hear, and then you apply your reasoning to that, and you also apply your your perception to that, to see if it can be confirmed in different ways. But so when we hear these 4 defects, what it's doing is like saying, well, do you think pratyaksha will work? Do you think direct perception will work? Well, it doesn't work. Not for these topics, because 1, your senses are imperfect. 2, we all have a propensity to cheat. You know, a scientist like Sariputta, he wrote a book. And, you know, when we say cheat, I think it doesn't even necessarily have to mean with a evil motive or something like that. It can even, like, he gives an example, like he wrote a book that spoke a lot about the what do they call it? The records, archaeological records, you know, all these archaeological digs that are used to support the theory of evolution.
Forbidden archaeology.
The book was called Forbidden. A very thick book, which basically analyzed just hundreds and hundreds of cases of different archaeological digs. And what he was presenting was that perhaps even not intentionally, but it's just the way that our minds work, that scientists would give a higher standard for things that didn't fit in with their theories than things that did fit in with their theories. So, you know, they would reject certain evidence because it didn't come up to the standard when it contradicted what their theories are. And then they would, but if what they found supported their theories, then they would have a lower threshold for that to be accepted. And they kind of illustrated how that can even be done without like, not even nefariously, right? But we have a tendency to cheat, you know, to cut corners and so on. You know,
see
we
things
think,
the way
oh, well,
we want to see them.
Yeah,
see them from our vantage point. Yeah,
you say, here's the proof, and then when it's against what you're saying, you got to find, oh, this isn't valid for this reason, you know. So we cheat, we commit mistakes, and we become illusioned. Now the question here is, what's the difference between imperfect senses and being illusioned? And so, you know, imperfect senses has to do with, usually, you know, when this epistemology is presented, they begin to give different analogies, or different, they demonstrate it in different examples. Like, for instance, if I hold my hand up to the sun, it appears that the sun fits in the palm of my hand. But of course it doesn't. It's much, much, much bigger. You know, it's way bigger. So that's like just a very simple way of demonstrating how imperfect our senses are. But there's so many ways we can, like, for instance, studies have shown that mistaken eyewitness testimony accounts for about half of all the wrongful convictions out there. Oh, that's definitely the guy that did it, right? But so often they can, you know, people see one thing, and then, you know, a little time passes, and they find that no, they gave a completely mistaken testimony, you know, based on what they took in through their senses. So that's like a common thing. And it's not even just that when we say imperfect, it doesn't even just mean that they screw us up or they give us wrong information, but they're limited. They're very limited. They're particularly when it comes to understand what lies behind the design of the universe and the workings of the universe. They don't extend that far. So that's imperfect sense. Now, being illusioned has a lot to do with what we do with what comes through the senses. In other words, the reasoning that we use to process the information that the senses bring in. In other words, here's what it means to be illusioned. Imperfect senses means, you know, I looked at something and I just didn't perceive it accurately. But being illusion means, for instance, I identify with my body.
Right? You're living illusion. You're living illusion.
Yeah. You know, that one thing they say is, you know, the common example for this is you see a rope and you think, oh, it's a snake, right? So like that's illusion. It's not that your eyes didn't work right, but you, in your mind, you connected that limited vision with an idea in your mind or a fear in your mind. Now you're operating under illusion.
Sure.
And, you know,
so you're perhaps chasing things that aren't going to make you happy, or avoiding things that could make you very deeply joyful, because they appear not right. So that could be right. Living living the imperfect senses, how it plays out.
Yeah, I suppose you could say it that way. And again, even the senses may be taking in the information perfectly accurately, but for instance, our minds assume a sense of identity related to our bodily features, such as our family, our nation, our race, our gender, and we're rooted in the conviction: I'm a man, I'm a woman, I'm an American, I'm Chinese,
Illusion.
or I'm black, I'm white, I'm Latino, I'm Asian, I'm tall, I'm short, I'm beautiful, I'm
Satanic,
homely.
whatever.
Yeah, like all these, but we're not any of those things, And as you're saying, we assume particular likes and dislikes or beliefs and passions, and we feel that these are an integral part of who we are. But what the yogis teach, what the sages teach, is that these inclinations are ultimately just patterns of thought that are passing through our minds, and they're conceptions that will become separated from within a brief measure of time. And when the soul departs from the body, its identification with the body and the family and the nation and the race is broken. And the subtle mind survives, and it accompanies the soul to the next body. And the old memories fade, and the programming in the mind is updated. And upon our rebirth, the soul's identification shifts to the new body and the new family and the new nation. And it begins transmitting the conviction of this new identity, that this is me. So that's illusion. So imperfect senses just means, I'm not seeing things right. But illusion has to do with deep convictions that we come up with that are just inaccurate, that aren't truth.
Deep convictions.
Okay.
I like that. Good answer, Kastuba.
Well, thank you, Raghunath.
All right.
It's important stuff to learn. I'll tell you something, Raghunath. You and I, like back in the day when someone would move into, an ISKCON temple, Hare Krishna temple. Yeah. You would go through some kind of program where you would learn all this this would be one of the things.
Hopefully you would. But yeah.
Yeah, you would, be studied, this epistemology, you'd learn about the 4 defects, you'd learn about the 3 pramanas and these different things. But I found it to be very helpful in my life. Like when I'm presented with things, I kind of do put it through this filter in a sense, like, someone speaking with real conviction, but are their senses perfect? Or,
sure. I know.
Are they subject to illusion? Or are they subject to cheating?
These are massive. Whenever someone's really convicted of something, I was like, oh, really? Are you just making this up? Where are you getting it from? You do people do commit mistakes. Are you really going to dig your heels in deep with this? Yeah. Even people that are saying good things too. I was like, well, where are they getting from it? Are they just like inspired to do this? Because now if I follow this person, they could also veer off this path of truth as well too.
Yeah. They might get into, who knows what kind of things they might get into, Raghunath.
They might all type of stuff.
They might start tuning into different, I don't know, Netflix shows about past life regressions or things
past life regressions has to do with our philosophy.
It's all real,
sir. That is real. Just because you want to live your, come on. Why is it it's okay to watch Seinfeld, but you can't watch shows on past life regressions?
No, but I don't believe Seinfeld is real. I don't accept it as pramana. That's the difference. Although Seinfeld really does have a lot of solid stuff.
Does have some spiritual truths in there.
Right. Like everybody's got a crazy Joe Davola. Like that's real.
That's a pramana.
Okay. All right.
Okay, this is from Michelle via email.
Okay.
Hello, Mara, Raghu, and Kastuba. Thank you always for your service and words, for your laugh and love and song.
Oh, thank you, Michelle.
That's sweet.
She didn't say song. She did not say song.
I thought she said song. Okay. I just added that. Okay. This time I am writing because
that was that propensity to cheat right there.
This time I am writing because the person who introduced me to Bhakti, my ex-girlfriend, told me something that made me get down with the practice I was starting. In context, ready? She and I broke up, and we were still living together, and I'm still struggling with depression. We are not living together anymore. I always said to her that she was a more advanced devotee because she is a yoga teacher. She has association and guidance. Because of our weird situation, I tried to make my bhakti path a little part of hers, reading alone, and sometimes I asked her some things to discuss. But her answer was that she did not know anything and that I need a guide. There was a time while I was reading the Bhagavatam and I told her something that I looked for on the internet, and she told me that I shouldn't read anything without a guide, that I need a teacher. And the worst is Bhagavatam. She said that.
The worst
But I
meaning you need a teacher for that one more. You really need a teacher for that, I suppose.
That I can't do this alone. I stopped reading the Bhagavatam. I stopped reading for a while now, and I started with the Bhagavad-gita a few months ago. I'm depressed, and it's hard for me to be a social person. I can relate to that. I have a temple near me, but the temple vibe here is something that I don't like so much. I am in one of those sage groups that's really helped me maintain the little practice I'm doing. I already talked about this in there in the sage group. But I want to know what you guys can say to me. Thank you for your valuable words and your service. You are a daily part of my life. Oh, that is so nice to hear, Michelle.
Yeah, that's a nice letter. You want me to start? Do you want to start?
Yeah, I've got some practical things on, dealing with depression naturally before you go there with medication, because that seems like it was hard to figure out what the actual question was here, but it seemed like, that was an issue. So that's why I want to bring this part up. How did you figure out, are these questions? I didn't realize if there was questions here or not.
Well, in the end, she said, can you talk about this? And it seemed like there are two things to talk about. And one was the struggling with depression. And the second one was the need for a guide to study. Is that an essential thing? Can someone study on their own without a guide?
Why don't you talk about the guide? I'll talk about depression.
Okay. Well, I want to talk a little about depression too, if you don't.
Well, I want to talk about the guide, but I can't do everything.
Go for it. I'm not telling you not to.
I got to leave some room for you too.
All right.
Okay. Here.
So,
I think I'll start it.
Okay.
I think the way like ashram living was really sort of set up to help deal with tamasic living. Why? Because ashram living is supposed to be like sattvic living. And here's just some takeaways from the ashram that I appreciated and made me sort of very happy morning person. I mean, I'm already pretty lighthearted. I don't really suffer with depression, so I won't fully understand where you're at, but I will say that these practices should be dove into before going anywhere else, before going to some medication. Some people need medication to deal with it, but why not try these first? One is rising early. The morning time is incredibly valuable, and it's a great time to study, meditate, etc. And going to bed early. There's something about going to bed late that triggers a lot of bad habits. I know for me for sure, but a lot of people can attest to that when they stay up late. Sometimes it's eating late. Sometimes it's, there's trouble out there late at night. My mom would always say nothing good can come after 10 o'clock at night. Mm-hmm. But, people can argue with that, but I'm just giving you like a little Vedic perspective and my own personal perspective. And when you do rise early, don't turn on your phone or your computer. Have it as your meditation time. Have it as your reading time, right? The books we read will affect our consciousness. So make sure, especially at those times, dive in. Truthfully, if you're dealing with depression, don't get into just get into wisdom literature or things that sort of uplift you. I don't know how you feel about exercise, but exercise is magic for depression. And if you're not used to it, then it's even more important. Dive into that. Get a breathing practice, even if it's 15 minutes of breathing, just like conscious pranayama. It will also help your mind for sure. Sunlight. If you're in a place that affords you some sun, get your morning sunlight in. That's very, very powerful. Find a place where you can sit with a little clothes on and just sit in the morning sun.
A little clothes on?
a little clothes on, or not. You don't have to have clothes on, but it depends. If you live in New York City, put a little clothes on.
Okay.
You know.
You mean you're saying your skin should be exposed to the sun?
Yeah, have your skin exposed and get the morning sun. It'll affect your mind.
Vitamin D too.
Yeah. If you're suffering depression, don't watch the news. It's not going to make you happier. It's just not going to make you happier. Because Stu can argue with me on this point, but I say don't watch the news.
Feel any news need to argue.
Okay, you have a time to speak. It's not now, sir. You have to wait till I'm done before you butt in. Tell me mine are wrong.
Well, you're accusing me of things. I'm going to respond to it.
You can, Derry. This is my time. Interact with people that bring you higher, that lift you up. Okay, so you already mentioned you're part of a sage group. If you don't know what sage groups are, they're on our website, wisdomofthesages.com, and we have different sessions that you can sign up for. It's like a free little group get together. Mara loves her sage group. Catherine loves her sage group. And so you just get together, you share your heart. And one thing about depression is it is sort of like you tend to isolate. And sometimes you find it hard to talk to people or share how we feel. It's nice to have a group of people where on a regular basis, even if you have nothing to share, you just share anyway. And in doing that, it starts to unearth things that we bury. And that I find personally that's a big thing. You know, if I've got an issue, I'm dumping all over Mara, everybody on a regular basis. I'll call up Kastuba. So that's one way, or a 12-step or Bhakti recovery group. That's a great way to, it will assist your mind to share, to reach out to people. I think a big thing is you need to find that big why in your life, why you're waking up in the morning. What is your contribution to this world? I think that's an important thing for a person's happiness.
Yeah,
and also doing things that sort of deprive the body of being so whimsical. Like the mind tends to be whimsical and it can lean into sadness on a regular basis. I love how Wim Hof says all these things like, you know, he does these things where and I'm going to try it this winter, go like hiking in the snow in shorts. And it's sort of like you're dealing with such like intense overwhelm of the senses, but you're doing it anyway. It gets you right off the mental platform, or taking cold showers or taking cold plunges. It helps with depression, they say. And
it's not great for pneumonia, but
not great for pneumonia. Great for you're going to not be depressed when you have pneumonia. But fasting, cold water plunges, you know, cold showers, because it gets you right off the mental platform. And the mental platform is today I feel like this. You can't like give into the senses of the mind always and let them direct how you're going to feel today. You tell the mind how you're going to feel today. You know, we have a lot of power within that. Kastuba, why don't you talk about the need for a guide?
No, I want to talk about depression. That's where I want to go.
Okay.
But
go ahead.
Maybe just a little bit. But yeah, you know, it sounds like Michelle got hit it was kind of a double thing, because the depression that she's talking about, I'm not sure if it's directly related to the breakup. You know, is it a result of the breakup, or is it something that she was struggling with before the breakup? I don't know. But it does sound like the breakup was kind of a double hit that she took, because on one hand, she lost you know, a person that she had a close connection with. That can really send people for a loop, especially when you're deeply invested in the relationship, and you might even be thinking like this is a lifelong relationship, and then it breaks,
right?
And it can be very hard. And but on top of that, this person seems to have been part of their connection to Bhakti too. And so where you want to invest most, like all past couple of weeks, we've just been talking about going through difficult struggles and how they can become periods of growth. But then you also don't have that person there to help you turn it into a period of growth.
Sure.
So you kind of hit twice. So I really sympathize with Michelle, and I appreciated all the things that you shared, Raghunath. There are a lot of practical things that we just need to do to to move through and not let the loops of the mind dominate us. And I think you shared quite a few things that can be helpful for that. If it might be a more severe type of depression, where you really start thinking about harming yourself, then you really want to seek some help for that from experts that know the patterns of the mind and might be able to help you with that. But yeah, I think Raghu's ideas were great, and try to have faith. You can rely on a lot of this philosophy that I am a spark of spiritual energy, right? I am eternal and my nature is blissful. And right now I'm passing through a period of time where I'm perceiving the world through this mind, and the mind is going through some tamasic dark loops that are telling me that the world is dark, that life is dark, that it's not going to get better. And then it kind of even gets you like on a double thing, and then it also tells you like, and you're no good because you're depressed. So like
Right.
now you're depressed about being depressed.
Shame spiral.
Yeah, and none of that is true. None of that is true. You are a beautiful, blissful spark of Krishna's energy by nature.
Really?
You too, Raghunath, all of us. Yeah, Gus, Mara, everyone. You're cheering up already. Look at you over there.
I am. You think I'm beautiful?
And let's work to feeling that more, to realizing that, and we're going to realize it through reminding ourselves by reading these beautiful books with each other, which gets to the next part of your question, and by sharing these practices with people that understand them. And your situation is tough because although there's a temple around you, the people there don't really relate to you, or you don't relate to them, or either way. I get it. There's a lot of places I can understand how that could be. I can totally understand that. Now let's get to the question about guidance. Your girlfriend was telling you that in order to study these books, excuse me, that in order to study these books, you need a guide. Yes and no, right? I would say yes. To deeply understand them, it's tremendously helpful to have a guide. And know that in the sense that, like for instance, when we read Srila Prabhupada's books, he's our guide. He's taken the time. He was waking up very early in the morning, like 1 o'clock in the morning, even midnight. He would stay up throughout the whole night, translating these books and writing his commentaries to help guide us in how we understand them. So you can take a lot of guidance from Srila Prabhupada's commentaries. But I also agree that you want to have someone where you can place your questions forward and receive answers. And, there's people that understand, like they understand how these books are laid out, the different sections, what links, why this verse is following that verse. There's logical connections that I may not be aware of. And all of that kind of stuff is really very helpful too, so that you're, but even if you didn't have that, even if you were stranded on an island and you were never going to have any help except from these books, so worth it to read them, because there's so even if you dip in and read it just to get something, just to get some powerful thought, some concept, and it sticks, that can be really helpful. And Krishna is in the heart too. He can help reveal what you need to know at any time. If you're sincere, Krishna will help you understand what you're reading, and Krishna will help send you that guide too. So seek that out. I was going to say, I've said this many times, and Raghunath and I are struggling to. At some point, we're going to try to get like an online academy going where people could really come in and study. We'd teach, and we'd bring in other teachers, and we'd really have a chance to go through these books together and learn them. It's when Raghunath and I were younger devotees, we were able to attend courses with really good teachers, really good guides, and they helped us understand all of this. We want to provide that for the listeners to Wisdom of the Sages that will come. There's one thing that's going to come not too far down the road, though, right? Is that for subscribers, we say Patreon subscribers, but we're going to start on another platform too. This will hopefully launch sometime in the next couple months.
Yeah, we're creating it. I'm not doing anything, but we have some Zoomers who are
So-
assisting us creating a whole cool new platform for all
and
of our
we're going to try to
subscribers.
kind of wean everybody off of Patreon over to there.
Yeah.
That
Just don't
but
wean
still
off
sign up for
yet. We're
Patreon.
still- yeah,
Yeah.
Don't wean
Don't-
off.
don't-
Yet. Just
okay.
You're weaning.
But
You're-
but one of the first things that we're going to do is Raghunath and I are going to each do a separate little podcast that are like short segments, like maybe half-hour segments. Raghunath is going to do kind of like a Sweet Baby Krishna thing, as Krishna Leelas, that will be just like recorded that you could download and listen to anytime.
Hmm.
And I figured the first thing that I'm going to do is Bhagavad-gita, like half-hour segments on Bhagavad-gita, and work the entire way through the Bhagavad-gita. It'll probably take about a year, but you'll get about 50 half-hour podcasts just moving through the Bhagavad-gita, helping to try to be a guide, and explain it as we go through. So hang in there, Michelle. I know it's tough. It's tough going through what you're going through. Please hang on to your Sage group. Please hang on to these teachings. Please hang on to the podcast. Write to us if you have questions. You can do that, and you'll make it through this. You'll make it through. Hang in there.
Spring's around the
Thank you, Michelle.
corner.
There you go.
Yeah. Wow.
Okay.
Nice question, Michelle. Okay. Hey, Farmer Jerry here again.
Oh, and the next question, Farmer Jerry. Okay.
Who's Farmer Jerry?
He's from Texas.
He lives in Texas.
Oh, he's
yeah?
from Texas. Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, Farmer Jerry. Long story short, I'm taking a gentleman to court who has taken advantage of my family and owes me quite a bit of money. Unfortunately, what's going on that farm? Unfortunately, I feel my heart hardening towards him. Understandable. And part of me feels bad for basically being forced to do this. So he's feeling split emotions here. Feeling bad
Yeah.
that he's doing it, and he's getting more and more angry at this guy. I know on a deeper level, this is all a reflection of my inner world, but man, what a doozy. Is there any scriptural or other advice for a situation like this and how to navigate this in a Krishna conscious way? Thanks again for y'all do.
For all
Thanks
you do.
again for all y'all do. All y'all do. Much love.
All y'all.
All y'all. Much love. Farmer Jerry from Texas via email. Yeah, Farmer Jerry. We got scripture that'll back up what we're about to say, called the Bhagavad-gita. The Bhagavad-gita is all about doing something that seems like, wait a second, you want to be a spiritual person? Isn't your heart hardening towards, the enemies, the kurus? Even are there your guru, your cousins, etc.? And Krishna is saying, no, you got to go fight this. This is your duty. So sometimes we have to take things to court. Sometimes if there's something wrong, we've been cheated, hurt, traumatized, victimized in a way, certain things have to be brought to court. That doesn't mean you have to hate. That's a whole nother thing. And there's a way to bring a person to court or serve a person justice and still be forgiving. Forgiving to being forgiven doesn't mean to be walked all over at all. It means you're not going to carry around resentment with you for the rest of your life. What do you think, Astub?
I agree with you, Raghunath. He's asking, is there any kind of reference for this? What immediately came to my mind was the story that we read in the 4th canto about Dhruva, right? The young boy. He was the prince, right? His father was king. And he's just a little boy. And he went to climb up on the lap of his father.
Yeah.
But his father had 2 wives. And so what do you call it? It's not stepmother, right?
Yeah.
Well,
stepmother.
but to Dhruva,
His co-mother.
what do you call that? The mother?
I guess the stepmother. I don't know. We don't have that in our culture.
Maybe it's the stepmother. So anyway, his stepmother, or whoever she was, the wife of his father that wasn't his mother, kind of forbid him to climb up on the lap of his own father.
Who do you think you are, climbing on your father's lap? You got to be born from my womb. if you want to climb on that father's lap.
What a harsh thing to say to a child.
A 5-year-old kid. That's
Yeah.
enough to scar a child,
Yeah.
right? Forever.
Well, it made him really determined, but he was upset. He was deeply upset. And he went to his mother.
And the father favored that wife too. So the father didn't even say anything. He was sort of like,
He didn't-
yeah, get off my lap.
Yeah.
Ouch. Ouch.
He lived to regret that. Everyone did.
Yeah.
But he, you know, so little Dhruva went running to his mother, all upset, and she was upset. It says that she was also breathing very heavily, and she did not know the factual remedy for the painful situation. Not finding any remedy, she said to her son, this is what she said. She said, "My dear son, do not wish for anything inauspicious for others. Anyone who inflicts pain upon others suffers himself from that pain."
Mm.
It's a beautiful lesson. And I think for Farmer Jerry, you got put in, in a difficult situation where someone was taking advantage of you, and it was harming your family. You have to do something about it. Then go ahead and do it. But you said your heart was hardening towards this person, and that's where you want to. That's where just the fact that you wrote in, it means that you're kind of doing this, but that's where you want to begin to check the tendencies of your mind, right? To harden. Check the tendency within the mind to feel a sense of animosity. You if you want to analyze it in a way that'll be helpful, then you could say that this person, underneath their mind, there's a pure soul, right? Again, Krishna's pure energy underneath there. But due to their circumstances and what they've been through in life and their previous actions, their own choices, their mind has become twisted in some sense, warped in some sense, where they will take advantage of others, even think that it's the right thing to do, right? So it's that warpedness in the mind that you have an issue with, and not the soul behind it. And you need to be able to accommodate this idea, right? That I can step forward and make sure that their warped mind doesn't become the cause of suffering, or the suffering of my family, and I can seek justice. And at the same time, rather than feel a sense of hostility towards the person, you feel something that's not in a condescending way, but you feel something that's more like a sympathy with the person. That I'm sorry for them that they would even choose to make these kind of choices, that they would even do this kind of thing. And hatred, or it doesn't enter into the picture at all, So if you can try to think of it that way, that might be be helpful.
I feel like in martial arts, there's a way to be extremely violent without being violent, without contaminating your mind. It's not like you're fighting a person. You're sort of like trained to just sort of go through these physical motions of aggression, defense, attack. But it was always sort of like, I tried to do it like in a yogic way, like emotionless. It's just like, I'm just doing this. So you don't get like worked up and like, I'm going to kill this guy, I'm going to crush this guy. It's just sort of going through the mode. Okay, this is wrong. Got to defend. This guy screwed up. Got to protect. This guy's attacking. I got to go after this person and take them out. You know what I mean? It wasn't an emotional thing. And when you get emotional, you sort of like lose your intelligence too. Oftentimes.
Sure.
Okay. All righty, Mr. Kostuba. What else we got? Are we still going here?
Should we squeeze 55. One more in from Ananga?
What's that?
I think we could do this last one quick.
Okay. This is from Ananga. She's on Zoom today. Hey, she's from the UK, Ananga. Harry Bowl, please accept my respects to you both. Okay. Not Tamara, I guess.
Thank you, Ananga.
That's all right.
Oh, not Tamara.
Sure, she loves
Maybe
Mara
she meant
too.
Mara and me.
Or I mean Mara. Maybe this is for me and Mara. Okay. My question is about studying and reading actively. I've been trying to study the Bhagavad-gita for some years, but I wasn't educated in how to study, and it doesn't come naturally to me. I'd love to know how you study, keep notes, etc. I'm looking for practical guidance on making it a daily habit. With thanks, Ananga G. This is exactly what we were just talking about. We
Yeah.
want to create this thing because there are ways to study the Gita. There is ways to sort of break it down, frame it out, and people have been doing it. Masters, acharyas, have been doing this for centuries. But do you have any like practical things right now, Kastuba?
Well, of course, the first practical thing is what I just mentioned. Sometime, hopefully in February, we'll launch this new thing, and you'll have, every week a new podcast coming out, just moving through the Bhagavad Gita. But what Raghunath is saying is true. There's different study guides or books that break the Bhagavad Gita down, each of the chapters into sections, and show all the different links. Sometimes they even show, like, sometimes there's a verse and then there's the next verse, and they'll put in a question, right? Like that's not there, but that's implied to be there, so that you understand the context of every verse that's coming. And you go through like this, and then you get the general messages of the Gita, and you understand its essence. So we want to step forward, and I'm going to help you do that. That being said, excuse me, you like to know how we study and how we keep notes. When I was a brahmachari, when I was a monk, I kept all kind of notes, and I would read the Bhagavad Gita and map the whole thing out with notes, all of those connections and all those sections and so on, and I became familiar with them. Now, if I pick up the Bhagavad Gita, I can kind of recognize those sections as I'm reading through, and they just kind of fall into place for me. But often, it doesn't. All of our study doesn't have. You sound like you want to dig into that systematic note-taking level of study. That's great. Let's try to help you with that. There's a book called what was Burijan Prabhu's book on the Gita?
We just
remember.
Called.
Maybe you can American Google that one up. But that kind of lays out all the sections and so on. So you could go ahead and get that. As They Surrender Unto Me. That's the name of the book. As They Surrender Unto Me by Burijan, Burijana. Burijan. It was Bhurijana.
Yeah.
Burijan Dasa. That could be a helpful book for you. But all study doesn't have to be like that either. And one wonderful thing to do is just read a chapter a day, right? Even just the verses, right? Just the translations. It's a great way. Oh, Nityananda Chandra has it on PDF, so you could reach out to him.
Put it on the message board right now.
Connect, yeah.
It's important stuff though. What you're saying, like how those study guides cluster the verses, because sometimes you can read through the chapter and not really feel like how do they connect. Then you throw a purport in there, and you're like, how does this go in a how does this go in a sequential way? So getting these study guides are important because they cluster verses together, then show you how this is going to the next verse, and then they zoom out and show you how this is going within the entire section of the Gita, and then the entire book of the Gita. So it's been done. We just have to dive into it too.
Nowadays, when I study, I like to look at the commentaries of so many different acharyas, and see what they all had to say. And I always find fascinating stuff. I got about, I don't know, 10 or 11 or 12 Bhagavad Gitas, in my library. All different
we don't recommend that though at first.
I'm saying now, this is what
Prabhupada's purports. He does that. When you really understand what Prabhupada's saying, and get into his purports, you realize, oh, look, he got this from this commentary. He got this from that commentary. And you see how Prabhupada so expertly put them together in his commentary.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm just saying.
Tell me I should stop?
No, you shouldn't stop. You've already read Prabhupada's commentaries many times over.
What do they call that? Harsh my mellow or whatever?
Trying to...
But Bhagavad Gita, it never runs out. You keep going back to it, and there's always more. And another way to study is just study one verse a day. Even read one verse and one purport a day. It's another great thing. Any connection you have, keep going back to it. every day try to get a little something from Bhagavad-gita. But also, it's great that you want to study it systematically. We're going to try to back you up with that.
Yeah. All right, that's it. That's the show. It's 9:01 Sunday morning. Kostuba.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us, Kostuba.
What you gonna do? Something Christmassy?
Something
This weekend?
Christmassy today. We're gonna wrap presents. Yeah, put them under the tree. Mara's been making holiday goodies. She has been. Real good stuff. Stuff I wouldn't normally eat, but I love it. Gingerbread cakes.
Oh,
Vegan-y
nice.
frostings.
Gonna
Wonderful
make a
stuff.
gingerbread house?
Gingerbread house that you can live in, camp in. Planning a trip. We're gonna, me
Gingerbread
and Mara are
snack
going to the Grand Canyon. It's on my bucket list. We're gonna backpack down the Grand Canyon. It's gonna be a backpacking year for us.
What if you get there and you're like, what next? What now? So what?
No. It's not that. It's not to accomplish
not that.
anything. Kostuba, hear me? It's to be. You understand? It's not to go anywhere. There's nowhere to
Then
go.
why do you have to go?
It's just to be.
Why can't
I
you just
need to
be
be-
where you are? Be here, Ragnath. Be here now.
No, I'm gonna be there now.
But you're gonna be there then.
I'm gonna be there now. The question is, why won't you be there now?
I'm there, and I'm here.
You're not.
I'm not there because I'm here now.
Oh, Kostuba.